Yo, what is up, guys? Hope you had a good weekend. I didn't even know it was Sunday today, so there you go. Should be pretty chill. I'm gonna record the session. Most people watch it later, so that is okay. Just be a nice little intimate group. Yo, what is up? Nobody wants to think about trading until Monday starts, so usually it's pretty quiet in here. But I'm prepping for the week at this time of day. Buying new challenges. Usually I'll buy new challenges, do a little bit of a market overview, take a look at the Edge Finder, look at the upcoming news for the week. That's what we'll be doing today. Yeah, I trade futures and Forex, both of it. I'm on futures right now. I'm in this futures trade. I just took a long off the open because we had a slight sweep, and then I entered right off of this candle here. I think it's on my one of my funded accounts, just one of them. Just a nice simple little trade setup. Although the risk to reward is crazy. That's not actually the risk to reward. I just randomly dragged it. Can you imagine? That would be nice. Okay, so let's take a look here at the upcoming news. It's the first thing we'll look at. So tomorrow there's nothing. So it might be a little bit choppy tomorrow, but I think it won't be so bad. I think it's going to move a little bit, like gold and other assets, just because last week was kind of relevant. And then on Tuesday we have the Fed speaking again, so that might have something significant, likely just like the look ahead for interest rates and what to expect. Like if they say like, hey, we're going to likely cut rates again, before the end of the year, or maybe they're planning to cut rates a couple times, that's going to cause the markets to go crazy. So we'll watch what they say there, and that could be like a long-term outlook. And then the other relevant one on Thursday is unemployment claims. Like unemployment really affects the health of the stock market. You can actually see like you can see side-by-side correlations of unemployment rates, and like the lower the unemployment rate, the stronger the trend of the stock market. So if we get good numbers there, then we'll likely see some bullishness continue up for like SPY, NASDAQ, all of that stuff, because if interest rates are getting cut and unemployment rates are good, then that's like a recipe for bullish price action. So we'll see. With gold is kind of interesting though, right? Because we are hitting like let's go to XAUUSD. We're hitting, I mean, even with the interest rate cut, we are just pumping, right? So let's look at the 4-hour. It just did not respect the rate cuts whatsoever. Usually what we see gold kind of retrace a little bit after some rate cuts. So we'll see. I was expecting this thing to retrace a little bit after the rate cuts, and I think it still might. Maybe we'll retest the previous all-time high and then retrace. But I think it would be, it can always be dangerous to kind of be bearish on gold when it's so strong. But just thinking about the economic state, let's look at the Edge Finder. So if we look at gold here, gold's at a 5 for bullishness. That's right on the border of being neutral. If we go to the history of gold, we are on the history. We can see that this is the last 30 days, the score for the last 30 days here. We can see we hit a 12 in bullishness. That just means it's very bullish economically and technically. Everything kind of aligns for price to be bullish. But we've been losing this momentum, right? We've been losing this momentum, but price action hasn't been reflecting that outcome. It's just been strong still. So generally what I see when I see this happen, when I see economics losing momentum, but the asset's still pumping, there will be some kind of pullback generally, right? Unless there's some kind of world event that happens that causes gold to pump, like some kind of, war breaks out or whatever. I see this thing retracing at some point here. Maybe it's going to sweep the previous all-time high up here and then do a hardcore retracement. But something's got to give. I mean, it just can't pump forever, especially with it cooling off. There's going to be more attractive areas for institutions to want to place their money other than gold. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think a retracement zone that we were looking at was either going to be, it doesn't even need to be too crazy of a retracement. Like it could be the 382 level right here, right? That would be a healthy retracement level. And that's nothing crazy. That's like, let's see. Yeah, like 3.5% retracement. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to see something like that. But just be prepared for that. Like this thing will roll over eventually. It's not just going to keep going straight up forever. Eventually we will have consolidation. We had some expansion here. We will have consolidation. So we'll see though. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. But for now, what we can do is, as a day traders, we can just go with that bullish momentum. So if we go on the 1 hour chart, we can see that we have bullish momentum here, right? With the 9 and the 20 EMA. So looking for longs still is fine. But as we're coming to the previous all-time high, just be cautious of having your take profits kind of running through this 3,700 psychological level on XAUSD. You see that? See, we've been rejected 3,700, 3,700. I mean, these psychological plays are so overpowered, and we've done them many times here before, where we have this 3,700 psychological level and we just do sell limit orders and they just dump. They just dump as soon as they touch it. Twice we got to set up for that. So it might happen again, 3,700, but the more it kind of tests those psychological levels, the less relevant they become. Like when it came up into this for the first time in quite some time, or the first time ever, all-time high, it just completely got rejected. I mean, what a beautiful trade setup that would have been. And generally what I like to do too is when I'm setting up these psychological levels, we typically do like a $10 stop loss. And then you can do like a 1-to-1. Like these psychological plays are really good 1-to-1. But you could go 1-to-2. I mean, it depends how aggressive you want to be. 1-to-2 is valid. In hindsight, obviously, it works out. But 1-to-1 is generally a safe range to play with a psychological level. And the reason why we do 10 points is because sometimes you'll get a little bit of extra momentum past that psychological level. So yeah, with gold, we'll see. I mean, I think this is really if they even talk about potentially cutting rates again, I think that gold pullback is going to be knocking on the door. That's what I'm assuming. And I know a lot of retail traders right now are assuming like this thing's going to roll over, and that's a little bit of a red flag. But I think just rationally, if we look at the economics, there needs to be a little bit of a rollover here soon. The constant pumping of gold is a bit irrational. So I think between if they say they're cutting interest rates and if unemployment claims are good numbers, like low, right? If it's lower than 235K, then yeah, this thing's going to roll over for sure, especially as we're testing the psychological level. So 3,700 is like probably as high as we're going to go, maybe a little bit higher. Like I said, usually if there's a nice mean reversion, it'll happen just above the previous all-time high and the psychological level. So let's keep an eye out for that for gold. But yeah, I think to open the week, we could open kind of strong here on gold. And like, I think this momentum from Friday is going to continue up a little bit. And then, on Tuesday, maybe we get that retracement. So it's not going to be too dramatic just because there's no news on the Monday. I don't expect like some crazy hard move on gold, but it's going to move a little bit. It's not just going to stay in the same spot. So this is going up to that previous all-time high. It's like a $20 move, so that would be kind of respectable. Yeah. That's my kind of thoughts for gold. Let's take a look at a few other assets here. Let's go to the top setups on Edgefinder. We'll take a look here. So as you can see, GBP NZD is insanely strong, 13, which is like pretty much as high as you can get in terms of a economic score. Let's take a little peek here. Yeah, literally everything is bullish except for unemployment rates, which is kind of interesting, right? Everything, why would it, everything's so strong except for employment? Like if the economy is so strong, why are unemployment rates down? So that could just be like a temporary little little bump in the road, but kind of strange there. GBP NZD, we'll pull that up on the chart. Oops, GBP NZD. Do I have that? Yes, right here. Okay, let's just take a look. So this is kind of interesting because we are going through a pullback. So it's so strong. I'm going to take the open price off. It's so strong that economically that it pumped, right? The news releases for GBP. So now we're going through a retracement. So I'm just going to go, let's see where I want to put my Fibonacci. We'll decide. I think it's fair if I put my fib level right here. Sometimes the fib is kind of subjective. That's okay. You just have to go off experience. So if we run it from the previous strong move, we can kind of look at a couple levels here that might be potentially good. Now, interestingly enough, we are having some rejection up to 382. A double rejection. Got rejected once, came back down, got rejected again. Honestly, a long here might not be too crazy of an idea. I mean, because we have like a obvious supply zone right here, right? Mean reversion, relevant price point. So this thing, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to setting up this as a swing trade. I might actually do that. I'll do that. We already had the sweep. Let me check the 5-minute chart. Yeah, so, okay, this is really interesting. So we opened up at a bearish gap, instantly filled it. So it doesn't look bad to run up, no. It does not look bad. Yeah, see that? Grab those orders. Very awkward broker data there, but yeah, that thing could be a nice trade setup. So if I was going to do that, we're going to look at the ATR here for the 4-hour chart. Now, the problem with these assets like GBP and ZD, generally they aren't super volatile, so you're going to have to use like larger lot sizes to cover the lack of volatility. So depending on like your prop from challenge or your broker that you use. So it's not bad though. So you actually, no, it's pretty good. GBP NZD is not too bad. It's been getting a little better recently. So you could go with like a 50 pip stop loss on this asset and that's pretty aggressive. Because you can see the 4-hour ATR here is about 50 pips mid-range. Usually I like going on the higher end, but that's like 65 pips. So let me just set this trade up and see what that looks like. Let's see here. So let's say we just went market order long. Yeah, see, so that's the one thing. It might be kind of volatile. So there's two ways you could play this. You could go very conservative, which would be a stop loss below the 50 Fibonacci. You could do a stop loss there, which would be 80 pips. 80 pips isn't unreasonable just because if we go to the daily ATR, we're at like 127 pips it moves on average per day. So I think that's a reasonable range right there. You know, honestly, if you wanted to get super aggressive, you could go 50. But then if it comes back down, you're just going to get stopped out and then you're out of the trade. So if you want to just be a sniper entry, right, then this would be the trade setup for potential really high risk to reward. Like you could target like a 3-to-1 like that. Or if you want to be more conservative, you could go a 2-to-1 like that. So the two options there. That's how I would set it up. So I'll probably set something like that up. I'll post in the swing trade. Just going to quickly look at the DXY here. So, okay, so this was a level that we marked out actually before this even swept. I was saying like, okay, if it hits this, it's probably going to sweep and reverse. And look at this, so interesting. That's exactly what happened. And it's been running up. Interestingly enough, it's been running up, right? And usually when DXY runs up, the strength of the US dollar means there's more demand for US dollar. Usually, like assets like SPY will sell off, right? Because people are selling off their shares of US 500 to buy US dollars. They're trading them, right? But we're not seeing that here. And same with gold. Same situation with gold. Everything's just running up. DXY running up. These are 4-hour candles, by the way. NAS running up. US 500. It's so irrational that something's just going to break here, right? So that's like, because we came to such a pinnacle point of the DXY, like I just really, it seems like we're overdue for a pullback this week for US 500, NASDAQ, XAUUSD. All of these need to just kind of correct a little bit. I mean, the pumps are just so irrational to me. Now, because of this news, right, that might delay the pullback, right? If they say, hey, we're going to cut interest rates in another couple months, whatever, that could artificially inflate this price to keep running up. But just the fact that DXY is running up at the same time, it's just wild to me. So you don't see this very often. This is very uncommon. And the only reason why DXY is running up, I think, is because it hit this key level. So this is a pure technical play on DXY, right? Even though DXY should have broken this level with the interest rates, right? If you drop the interest rates, yeah, I mean, it should have just broke this level, but it did not. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, we'll take a look here at some more. Let's go to top setups. Look at this China 50 making an appearance on the Edge Finder. Don't say that often. AUD NZD, that's another NZD pair. GBP, so GBP is bullish. NZD must be pretty bearish. Let's go downtown to the bottom here. You know, Canadian dollar is still struggling. It was way worse last week. Not so bad anymore. I'll just hide my screen here, my camera, so you can see the bottom here. So EUR GBP at the very bottom, but it's actually not even that bad. We can take a look at it though. EUR GBP. Okay. Oh, this is kind of nice too. I mean, really. So let's take a look. Okay, EUR GBP. I'll turn my screen back on. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of nice because economics are bearish, trend and seasonality bullish, but that's more of like that's not as concrete. Like this stuff isn't as concrete. Okay, trend reading is 2, you're giving it a bullish score because of that. I'm going to go to the history here. Top sub history. EUR GBP, right? Is that the one I was looking at? Yes. Okay, so we've been kind of like just chopping around the neutral zone for quite some time. So it looks like, to me, it looks like kind of bearish just because of the economics and what actually is bearish on here. Inflation, retail sales, PMI, all bearish. But if we look at the price action, I mean, it's pretty bullish over the last week. So this could be another interesting one to potentially look for shorts. You know, we could look for shorts here. I don't really know how else you look for shorts other than, I mean, this area does not look bad. So that's another potential short to look at there. So once again, if we look at the 4-hour ATR, this is a lot less volatile. I mean, we'd probably be looking at like a 30 pip stop loss instead of the 80 pip like the other one. So maybe it looks something like this. Short. Is there a psychological level in here somewhere? That would be really nice. I guess not. Maybe 87.5 cents would be psychological, the closest thing to it, which would be right there, 87.5. So you could play for that if you wanted to. Yeah, maybe that would be a good idea. How far away is that though? Let's see. Yeah, about 35 pips away. It's not unreasonable. And we still have bullish momentum, so that might be a safer play. And then it would look like this. So we go 87.5 cents to short. Something like that. 3-1. Usually I start with 3-1 on my swing trades, and then once they're in the profit, we can kind of adjust them as we go. We can move stop loss to break even when it's 1R in the profit. We can take the TP away completely and then just trail the price as long as we can. So that could be a potentially nice trade setup right there too. So we could just move this zone up there. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, so that's something to look at for sure. Anything else interesting? Let's see. Anything you guys are looking at in the chat that are watching right now? We can take a quick peek before we're done. I'm looking. So silver's neutral, oil's neutral, platinum. No coffee. How is coffee doing anyway? You always got to check on coffee. I tried to do some back tests on coffee, but I could not find anything. Oh man, coffee is selling off. Coffee was so bearish last week. Look at that. Ooh, if you shorted coffee there, you'd be rich. That is a crazy move. Coffee is the most volatile asset I've seen. It's crazy. I did not know it was so volatile. If you're a coffee trader, I should just specialize in trading coffee. That would be hilarious. Imagine, make millions of dollars trading coffee. Coffee day trader. Ooh, I like that. Let's take a look here. USD JPY, we could take a look. That's pretty popular. USD JPY, let's take a look at that one. That's always interesting. Okay, so we're kind of like bullish neutral on USD JPY, so take a look here. Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think someone asked me about this one last week, and I was just looking, and I'm like, what do you even do with this? I mean, there's just nothing here that's. I mean, you could trade the lower side of the range, but other than that, it's like it's like financial suicide to try to jump in here anywhere. We don't know. It's just so volatile. It's like you're in a washing machine just being shaken back and forth. Will I have any EAs running on accounts this week? Yeah, definitely. We actually set up one account on each asset that we're going to run that we can just kind of monitor. One step Blueberry 10K accounts. So that'll be interesting to see how those all play out. They are currently set up and running. I'll post some updates. Yeah, I don't know. I think trading this thing, yeah. Even if you tried to trade the lower side of this range here, you might have got whipped out with this, like, with this candle here. So I think USD JPY is one of those things I will not be trading anytime soon. I think, you know what I would do? Let's see. Yeah, we go 148.5. 148.5. So maybe like this. enter in like right here, like that, out of the range. But we've had a couple fake outs of the range too, so it's a dangerous game to play. Maybe you would want to like actually wait until there was a legitimate bounce rather than just putting a limit order there. What are your thoughts on Four Traders prop firm? Have you ever heard of them? I have. I used them once. I did an interview with them because they wanted to do an interview to give me my payout, and they're just like, I just didn't really like them, and I can't remember why I stopped trading with them. They had a weird rule or something. I never noted it down. And they just like, I feel like for me, I feel like they're at that size where they just go out of their way to like look at every single funded trader under a microscope. And I just hate that. Like, I like bigger prop firms that are just like, okay, they hit a payout, let's send them the payout, right? It's just, but when you have a prop firm that's small enough to where payouts are kind of like, oh, that's a payout, it doesn't happen often, we should look at it, then it's like, I don't like it. So Four Traders, I think they do pay out, but just be aware that they might like ask for an interview and interrogate you and all that fun stuff. So it feels like an interrogation. Their interview did. Like Alpha Capital Group, their interview is fine. It's like chill, 10 minutes. It's like, oh, what's your strategy? Tell me about it. Four Traders was like, share your screen, log into this account, show me this, show me that. And it's okay. And if you say no to anything, they're just going to deny your payout. Again, so strict. How do you manage to set up 7 accounts on one PC? Set up on a VPS VPS, right? If you don't know what a VPS is, just like watch a YouTube video on what a VPS is and how to set it up. It's like a server you can rent, like a machine you can rent, and you can install MT5 on there and run your accounts. And it's always running, so you don't have to worry about your computer turning off or your internet going out. All that stuff. Let's take a peek here real quick. So I added a couple over the weekend. What did I add? I added something. Oh yeah, I added like Cowboy. Cowboy was good. I was filming a YouTube video, like doing backtesting on the YouTube video. If you guys haven't seen that, it's in the PFK Alpha resources channel. Check it out when you have time. Just going over how to backtest. But yeah, we got this one going. That one was clean. The reason why this one was so clean is because a lot of the backtests, like look at this, a lot of backtests run well, but over the last couple months, it's been really choppy because the price of gold was ranging, right? But for some reason, Cowboy was killing it during that time, which is really interesting. So that's why I added it on here. So this is a nice one. If you're looking for a new one to try, this one seems like it's pretty cool. That's why I named it Cowboys or Cowboy. And then Mateo was like a 3-month recency. So that's another thing too, right? Because I was like you can see here, last 3 months been kind of choppy. So we did a 3-month back test and it's performed well over 3 months. So we have that there. But these two, the thing is, these two only run during New York, right? So just be aware of that. So it's not going to trade through Asian session and London session. So you just have to be fine with that. But the strategy, even though it's been struggling, the strategy has been struggling through Asian session and New York session for the last 3 months for the choppy market conditions. But for New York session, it's been solid if you only traded it during New York, which is the strategy itself. The PFK Alpha strategy is designed around New York session. Sean is the brain behind a lot of how the strategy functions, and he only applies it to New York session, right? The reason I run it on Asian and London is because we also found good entry models for those 2 time periods, but it is the strongest during New York always. That's what it was built around. So kind of an interesting thing to consider, right? It's kind of harsh, the fun thing about automated trading is you can leave it on 24/7 and it's going to be trading for you. So it's kind of disappointing when you only have like a 6-hour window to trade automatically. But, if you're winning more often than losing, then I guess you can't complain about that. So this might be interesting to try these two. Could be very interesting. 1 to 2 risk to reward with a break even, and this one's a 1 to 2 risk to reward with no break even. So 2 options there. 2 decent options. Nothing else. Yeah, I was looking at a few other assets. I haven't added anything yet. We do have like all the main good ones. USD. I might like want like a USD, AUD, USD or something. That could be kind of cool to look at. AUD. So USD CAD. USD CAD is pretty good. Yeah, just this is a really clean one too. Just kind of like slowly climbing and some hot streaks. Even even in this situation, it's not the worst. It's kind of consolidating and then it pops off. But that's only this is a 3-month back test. So like, yeah, for a month it would be choppy and then pops off, right? That might happen sometimes. Better than losing anyway. Yeah, something similar happened to me with Bright Funded. I requested a payout 3 to 5%, so like 3 to 5K, yeah. And then they sent me a payout, but they said I can no longer trade with them for excessive risk. I know, yeah. I'd never risk more than 0.5% per trade. Wow. How many trades per day did you do at 0.5%? Because they can use that as like a high volume trading profile as well. But if you do like 0.5% and you're doing like 2 trades a day or something, like how can you justify saying you're trading too risky? I mean, it's so ridiculous. And they won't even let you swing trade, you know? Yeah. 3 trades a day, 1 to 2. I mean, so ridiculous. Like how, like it's just so sickening how they can just gaslight you. Like, oh, you're trading too risky, and you're literally risking 0.5% per trade, which is so not risky at all. 0.5% of the whole capital of your account on one trade. That's all you can lose. And they say this is too risky. That is so degenerate. You should definitely leave a 1-star review on Trustpilot and tell that story, because that's ridiculous. They shouldn't be able to get away with that. I hate that stuff. Disgusting. Yeah. Just tell your story. I mean, you have a funded account that you risked your upfront capital for, and just because you were one of the successful ones, now they're backtracking. They're like, "Oh, we don't want you." They only want the people that just fail constantly, right? And it's not even there's no, that's not even justifiable whatsoever. Bright Funded, yeah. Bright Funded put me on risk as well. And so being put on risk means that they're going to cap the amount you're allowed to risk per trade, like usually to 1%, or they'll cap the amount you're allowed to lose per day to 1%, which is what Bright did to me. So I don't really like prop firms that do that. I got Fintoki did the same thing to all their users. Fintoki did something really degenerate. I called them out for it on my stories, and they contacted me. They're like, "Oh, we can explain it." I'm like, "There's nothing to explain. So obvious." What they did was every account that was funded, every single fate trader that was in their phase 2, almost about to pass, they capped their risk to, they can only lose 1% per day, but even worse, they were only allowed to make 1% per day. They capped the profit. So losing 1% per day, whatever, right? Capping the profit is so ridiculous, because that puts you at an impossible situation. You can't make more than 1% per day. You can't catch strong moves in the market. That's the whole point of being able to trade in the markets. You're catching strong moves. And if you can't do that, then you can't make money. So they know that, right? And that's why they did that. And so they sent out this email to all of their profitable traders. Nobody that was failing their challenge, nobody that was in drawdown got an email. It was only the traders that were profitable that got the risk email. And I called them out for it, and they were like, "No, that's not true." Like, dude, it's like they think that none of us talk. They think that none of us share information with each other. It's so funny. Is Naoma still good? I hope that guy figures it out. I am going to send them a message if they have an issue, but we don't know the full story, right? I don't know who it is or if he's in here. We don't know the full story. We'll see. They said there was something wrong with his ID or something like that. So they might have a valid reason. They might not. We don't know. Right. Naoma, they have a solid team, good guys behind the company, so they're not pure con artists, but that doesn't mean they're perfect. I like them, but yeah. 6 months, multiple payouts, yeah. Yeah, they'll just ghost you. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's their move. They'll ghost and hope you go away. So that's why I always implore people to make as much noise as they can, because it kind of balances the degeneracy out a little bit. Call them out as much as you can, and that's all you can do. Well, you can actually sue them if you want, but I don't know if it's worth the money. We need to find a good there needs to be a lawyer that specializes only in pursuing going after prop firms. They would make a killing. So on the VPS, you run the PFK set file on one install of MT5 at a time, or do you have multiple MT5s installed? You have to ask Lucas. I don't think he's in here right now, but you can always, if you have a question like that, you can just open a quick ticket too, because I know we're getting the Q&A AI hopefully launched in the next few days, where you'll be able to ask these questions, because we're going to make a database of all this information. So the AI is going to understand the whole business, the whole model of our community. It's also going to understand all of my ebook content, all of the recommended prop firm information, all that stuff. So you'll be able to talk to the AI, and then we'll be able to filter out a lot of these basic questions that people have. The AI will already know and kind of be able to guide you. So that'll really help everybody out. It'll be a chat bot that's in the Discord here. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, stayed a little bit longer than I was supposed to. That's fine. Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow morning. We'll trade some Orb and PFK Alpha, and we'll take a look at some other stuff too. So have a good evening, morning, whatever it is, and I will talk to you tomorrow. All right, peace.